Christmas. I'm tired. Long day yesterday, as I assume some of you guys are too, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to be answering car audio questions for a short run tonight. If you guys have any questions, be sure and put them in the comments. Slam that like button. And if you guys are coming along after this show runs live and you're seeing it as a replay, put your questions down in the comments below and we'll get to them. For now, guys, let's get this shit started. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're doing the thing. Pump up the volume a little bit, get a little bit more light. How is everybody this fine evening? I'm shopping for headphones. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Had a long drive down to my sister's house in Arkansas and come in last night late. Slept an indeterminate amount of time. And then I woke up and realized that it was daylight outside and it was a beautiful day. So I slipped outside and went to work on a project I got going on in the Tahoe, which is the head unit area. And I had a buddy come over today. He'd gotten a big old huge American-based subwoofer that weighs like 100 pounds and a box that was not made for such a subwoofer. We had to do a little bit of work on that. I didn't record it because my phone was dead. Told you the trip. I didn't charge it. All this stuff. We did that and goofed around and talked a bunch of crap. You know how car audio guys are. But all during the while, I was working on gluing up a project that I'm working on. There's a video going to be coming out pretty soon on this project, so you guys will get a kick out of it. What it boils down to, though, is my tablet and my Tahoe that I used for my music source has been acting weird this last season and really bad. It was not playing MP3s. It was not recognizing my pen drive. It was just doing all sorts of bizarre shit. So I was going to pull it out and use the head unit for a bit that was behind it. That's not an option. That thing was destroyed at some point from 24 hertz. So it was just deader than shit. Well, I took the head unit out of that bezel thing that goes on the dash. It was made to the head unit. Took it out, and I'm redesigning the whole thing to run an Alpine ILX 207. One of my favorite head units ever. But all it's really going to be doing is handling media. So I'm just going to run a line out left and right out of it to my DSP. The DSP is going to be doing all the heavy lifting. And the amplifier rack's going to be doing all the amplifying. So it's going to be a pretty basic install, but here's the cool part. So the head unit, the way I'm building and designing, hopefully this is going to work out because I'm talking about it now and you guys will be like, what happened to that thing? The system I'm using to install my head unit is made in such a way, if everything works out, that the head unit literally slides in and just stays in from friction fit, which means I can get in head units from different manufacturers and pull my head unit out, unplug it, plug in the new head unit, put it in, and do a really nice review on them because I'll have them installed in my Tahoe. If this works out, it's going to make head unit reviews a really cool thing and a full-on event. And if I find something that I like better than the ILX 207, maybe it'll stay in there. I don't know. But my setup is going to be restricted to two types of head units. Basically one type. Anything that has a chassis that's designed as a single DIN. So head units with that single DIN chassis and then a large screen will work. Head units that are simply single DIN will also work. I don't have a double DIN size hole, so that's going to limit that stuff. But, when we work with what we've got. But the system is going to be pretty cool, and I think we'll be able to get some really cool results. I saw somebody recommend a headphone. I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at here real quick. Give me just a second. Give me just a darn second, and we will jump over here to the Amazon page. I've been through a whole lot of head units and a whole lot of headphones. This set and the set from Audio Technica, the M50s, I believe, are the two that I really have my eye on. Both of them are excellent. I think I'm going to be getting these guys. And I need headphones specifically that are very flat, that don't boost anything, because what happens whenever you're mixing a track, and let's say your headphones give you extra bass, that means I'm going to wind up decreasing the bass in the track because my headphones, I'm using my ears to determine how the levels are. So if they give me extra highs, I'll wind up turning the highs down in the track, and then the track will come out sounding less highs. If the headphones give me extra bass, then I'll wind up turning the bass down in the track, and then the track comes out sounding weak. So forth and so on. So what I need is a set of headphones that give me a really, really nice flat response so that I mix the track properly. This can get you in big trouble when it comes to mixing. Having headphones that boost or cut different frequencies to make the music sound quote unquote better can actually cause you to completely screw up a track. So yeah, there's that. I think these might be the headphones that I need. Let's see what you guys are going on about here on the Chattermarundu. Joe Daddy is here. The man himself. Yeah. He said, I hoped I got everything I did for Christmas. What did I get any car audio stuff for Christmas? I didn't get, okay, I did get my sister. My sister, I love my sister. She's the most awesome sister in the world. She got me some cool sausages. You know, the thing with the sausages and the cheese. I love those. Last year, she got me a bunch of hot sauces. It was like a habaneros and Carolina Reapers. I've eaten all that. That's my favorite. She got me this. You guys can't see what the hell this is, but it's a Carhartt uh, jacket with a hood, and it's absolutely awesome. I mean, it's like wearing a blanket that makes you want to just curl up in it and go to sleep. It's really really nice. I love that jacket. That's really basically all I got. I got a weird headphone thing she got me. I haven't really played with it. She got it off of Timu. I don't know, but that the jacket was really nice, and I got to see my family and hang out with my family, and that was the best Christmas present anyone could ask for. Uh, we did spend a lot of time driving, about 7 hours each way, a 5 hour trip, but my wife has to stop a lot to go pee. So we stopped a lot to go pee. And she scared the hell out of me on the highway, man. Driving down there, and I was, I'm sitting there, we're going around these curves and over these hills, and she slows down way slow, way way slow in certain spots. In other spots, she's just ripping it, you know. And I'm like trying to. I put on music in my ears, you know, so that I could just try to zone out. It's like I told her, I said, you know, I said it's like being on a roller coaster, except you don't know if you're going to make it or not. You know, on a roller coaster, in the back of your mind, you know how sketchy it gets. It don't matter because you know the thing's going to go around the corner and you're gonna live, right? That was like riding a roller coaster, but you weren't sure about each corner. You were like, I don't know, we might make it, and we might not. It's, oh man, but I love my wife. She's an awesome girl. She just, yeah, that's a horrible ride. Anyway, let's see here. What's up, Dwan? Doing good. Cigarette. Oh man. Oh, sorry, dude. I hate that, but you're watching this video. You're going to see me smoke a whole lot, so I apologize for that. But this is just how we roll. But nice to have you here. Arctic Steel, Arctic 7, Steel Series, a good headset. Yeah, I saw that pop up in there. Uh, yeah, and again, it's not about whether it sounds good. It's about whether it sounds flat. That's a prereq that I literally have to have because of what I use my headphones for. Um, Franco Quaid said, "What's up?" Head unit reviews. Yeah, I know, man. I have people send me head units. I've given them away a bunch. I do reviews, but the reviews are always kind of meh because I don't actually install them or anything. So having a way to install them and use them in my vehicle, I think that's a good plus. The only thing is I'll have to deal with backup camera stuff, and that's going to be kind of weird because I have a wall, but I mean I'll have to run. Maybe if they're all using the same plug, I can just kind of use the same camera. I don't know. That's kind of rude though to do that because the backup camera itself is a part of the equipment you're reviewing, and then I'd have to change that out, which is a huge, monstrous pain in the ass. But I can set the camera up like inside or have it pointing forward or something like that, and kind of get the idea of how effective it is. I don't know. I'll work that out, and it's going to be part of it because, like, literally every stereo you buy comes with a backup camera, especially when it comes to the guys from over in the Oriental space. What's up, Millie? Said, you are familiar with the Audio Control LC7? Man, I am not. But how to set the best voltage on the factory head unit without clipping? On the head unit. On the head unit. Is there a voltage setting on the head unit? Because that'd be the stereo. I don't really see that very much, but there could be a level on the output. And me personally, I like to run the stereo hot. So I turn the gain down on the amplifiers, and I like to have a pretty hot signal run into the amplifiers if they will allow for that. Some of these new full bridge companies are like 4 volts maximum, and some of them are like 2 volts maximum. Okay, but I tend to run a lot of hotter signal to there because that reduces the noise ratio and the signal to noise thing. Because you got more signal, therefore you can turn the gain down and you get less noise. And if you're picking up noise, it kind of gets low. So that's a plus. But I don't know exactly what you're dealing with, but suffice it to say that if your amplifier will accept it, I like to run nice high voltage from on the signal path into the amplifier, wherever that adjustment is being made at. That's a personal preference, though. That's old school. It's old school guys. Us old school guys do it that way. Bobby B is in the house. Bobby B, what's up, bro friend? Joe said, is clipping good for subs? Absolutely. Clip the shit out of them. Clip them until all the smoke comes out, and then they're perfect. They're broke in solid, man. When all the smoke is out of them, they're ready to go. Dubby, what's up? Merry Christmas, Dubby. Yeah, Joe's been. Yeah, he's already going. So yeah, I was looking at those guys, those headphones. Now I'll talk about something else, because me and my friend Troy were over here talking batteries. And let me kind of get into this headspace and show you guys what we're talking about. So first of all, he's got this guy ordered, or he's got this on his Santa list. However you want to put it, he's looking at this damn thing. I was trying to figure out how this is configured because all this plexi kind of makes it difficult to see what's going on. But I think we're pretty sure that this little strip right here is your positive and negative strip, and that there's 4 threaded bolt holes here. So this works. Now, GP sells a plate that mounts on top of this and uses these 4. It has 4 bolts that go into it, and it gives you 4 terminals here and 4 terminals here. So it brings it to 8, and it would look cool because your wire goes in here and you can have them coming out here and all this stuff. It would look really nice. The only problem I have with that thing is that it gives you those worm screw, little set screw connections. So you stick the wire in there and you set the screw. And you guys already know, I know that you already know that I hate those things because they're hideously bad connections. So I would stick to this and use lugs. You could always stack lugs too. You could have 4 wires coming in and then double up the lugs and have 4 wires coming out. So you can achieve the same thing here without that problem, without those stupid set screw connections, which I hate. Overall, it's not a bad setup. There's a few things I was talking to him about, though. We're going to be designing a system in his trunk and it's going to incorporate one of these amazing batteries if he ends up getting it. There's a couple of things I wanted to point out, that things that I ran into while trying to come up with a design for this, and maybe something that comes up for you. So first of all, it's very clean. It's really cool. It's got nice lines, good color and stuff. It's a cool looking battery, right? Here's one of the things that kind of bother me though. There's where the mounting system is you got these four holes down here where you can mount your thing down, and it's got color and all that. So if you're putting this in a place where you've got like risers and stuff around it, maybe you got an amp rack right here, or maybe you got like a riser to run stuff. Basically, these little screw holes would be covered up. So once you bolt it down and put the thing around it, it's going to completely hide them. That's a good thing. And it's also kind of a tricky thing. That means you've got to do the screwing down of the battery before you do anything else, and then build around that. That does make it more clean in the end. In the end, though, so it makes it better looking in the end. I don't know. It's just a toss up. Now, as far as the battery's capacity to do work, so this is a 90 amp hour. Oh, these are those things I was talking about. These things right here with the set screws. It's cool. These things mount on top of these bars and give you those outputs, but I don't like them because they use those stupid worm screws. And I hate that because that's a horrible way to connect anything. Anyway, this battery, it is a 90 amp hour battery, if I remember right. Uh, it doesn't list it here, but we looked it up. It says it supports 20,000 watts. I do not agree with that. I would say 10 to 15,000, depending on your alternator setup. So, but it's not terrible. Um, it's not terrible, and so it's a pretty good battery. It is $1,100. Okay, that's a thing. And then when you compare it to the Tungsten lithium battery, and there's caveats here. I don't know where the damn button is because I'm a freaking idiot. The price is pretty much the same. This battery, I think, is very similar in capacity and output, but I do think that the hardware inside this battery is better. I think it has way better hardware, way more conductivity, and it's also a pretty rugged looking case here. So I like the way that the bars are laid out and stuff. I like the design of this better. The downside is, even though it's roughly the same exact price, it is also out of stock, and he's having a hard time trying to keep up with the orders for this. So that's why we're looking at other options. Then there's the Big Jeff battery, which is this guy right here. And right now, Big Jeff's batteries are out of stock also. But you can rest assured these will be back in stock very soon. This is a 2 battery setup, I think. This is a 4 battery setup. These are good for about, they says 6,000 watts. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they're good for between 3 and 4,000 watts. So maybe a little more depending on your alternator again. So we're talking about a stock alternator. You'd probably be safe running 3,000 to 4,000 watts off of this battery, and you won't see any headlight dimming or anything. You try to run 5 or 6,000 off of it, I think you're going to start dipping just a little bit. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much it would take to buy what you need to cover with these guys. Um, and then there's the Titan 8, which I don't even know where. I had that pulled up earlier. Oh, there you go. There's the Titan. It's one of the Titan 8. There's several of them. These are okay. One of the things I like about the Titan 8 is this little connection thing. So you can like link them together and stuff. They're pre-set up to be able to link multiples of them together. But for the price and then overall performance rating, it's actually a kind of a step down because you're paying quite a bit more for the amount of power that you're getting. And this will just go down here and look at the ratings on this. So it's saying this maximum is 5,000 watts. And that again is, I think, a little bit exaggerated. But they do have, where is it at? Amp hours. This is a 10 amp hour battery. This thing may as well be a super cap because it has no storage at all. Um, and you're looking at 1500 amps. I think that is output. So, yeah, I mean, it'll put out some power and it'll take in some power, but it doesn't have much storage. These are good if you have space limitations and stuff. But again, it's a $600 battery that doesn't have hardly any storage. The 20 amp hour version of it is like a couple $100 more, and it's still just not a good purchase. But then, what was this? This over here, that's battery hookup. That's not what I wanted to show you though. Where are they at? And then these guys, right now, if you're not scared of these cells, um, these batteries, this might be the best buy out there. But I'm not entirely. These aren't the pouches. This is a CMAX battery, but it's a different style, and it's not a pouch, but it is being compressed by this block. So it's being compressed, which means that there are compression things happening here. So it's similar to the pouches, but it's definitely not the pouches. But you see the cells here inside? That's what I think I found um, over at where the hell was it I was at? Over at Jag, not Jag, but battery hookup, and I can't find it now. I'm looking at my tabs. What is that? That's not it. No, that is not it. Where was friggin' fiddle, friggin'? Anyway, there. I think these are the same cells that are in there. The Lev 60F. I think those are the same cells. Now these cells are not terribly bad to buy. A decent bank to put together a decent bank of these, you'd want to do like a 4S, 3P, or 12 cells. So you could pick up two boxes of these, two 6 cell boxes. They're $22 a piece. So that's like 100 and I don't know, 130 or so a piece. So for the boxes, so like 260 for all the cells. And then if you've got a place for the bars and all the balancer and everything, you might be able to get something decent out of this. And it sets at around 12.8 volts, so it will rest right alongside your regular AGM battery. It shouldn't have to have any kind of isolator or anything. So this might be a good option. And these are prismatic, so I don't know. I'm not sure it's the same cell, but it looks very similar. But I do like the looks of these cells, regardless. Anyway, let's see if you guys are talking about life over here. I just kind of going through stuff. Uh, let's see here. Debbie, where are we at? Franco Quaid. Um, all right, so Millie J said, "Are you familiar with the audio control?" Yes. Okay, we already covered that. WWW. Are you being for real? Is that what you said? No, I'm not being for real, man. I'm messing with you. You know, I mean, you literally asked if it was good to clip a sub. No, it's not good to clip a sub. Um, it's never good to clip a sub. It's not going to blow it up, but you don't want to just continually, because you're going to create more heat by clipping. Clipping generates heat. Heat blows up subs. And if it doesn't ever get hot, then it's not a problem. But just saying. Uh, let's see. The X Max. Oh yeah, you big balling now. He says. No job though, just pimping all day. Let's see. Uh, what? Yeah, metal. We had to go through that before with that weird name. No, Jag 35 a little bit. And I have a tab over here open for Jag, and I showed you one, but I'm not terribly familiar. But yeah, um, for a beginner, um, sort of. I mean, is it better for a beginner? Sort of. But here's the problem with AGM: it's almost a waste of time. You know, uh, pick up a good LiPo 4 bank and put it inside your vehicle and run the power runs nice and short from the amp and the battery, and run your alternator back to that battery. Um, Make sure your voltage is where it should be charging wise. Do your homework and learn how to use them. Don't waste your money on an AGM because it's not going to do anything without a whole lot of them. And it's going to cost you a whole lot of money that you could actually spend much less and get a lithium bank and actually get done what you want to get done. You're going to wind up having to buy the lithium anyway. So then you'll be adding the cost of the AGM to the cost of that lithium. So is it easier? Yeah, but it doesn't actually do much. It takes a lot of lead acid batteries to get the throughput that you get from a lithium battery. It takes like 10 lead acid batteries to replace one small lithium battery. And it's not even nowhere near as heavy as a single one of those lead acid batteries. There's such a huge gap between the two. Yeah, it's crazy. Uh, Figure 5C. It all depends, man. It depends on the amount of amp hours in the battery. But as far as the C rating goes, um, usually you can figure about 10C, rounded. Some of them can go up to 20. But yeah, you can get a whole lot more amperage into and out of a lithium bank than you can out of an AGM. An AGM is like zero point 0.5, like a half a C, or a third of a C. They're really low. At least the input side. The output side can vary, but the input side is really low. It means you can't charge them very fast, which means that you're going to run them out of power real quick, and then your lights are going to dim, like within seconds. They just won't. You can't put power back in them very fast. That's the problem with AGMs and lead acids. Um, Down for sound 6.0 LTO cells. LTO cells are clunkier and bigger, but also more configurable, and they are the safest of them. They're also the least energy dense and the most expensive. It's trade offs. Um, and it doesn't matter what brand you buy. You know, it don't matter. Excess power, none of them. Uh, Jonathan Price, it doesn't matter. The cells are all coming from Maxwell, or actually some of them come from Max. They're all the same cells. They just rebrand them. Trust me, Down for Sound is not making LTO cells. They're buying cells from one of the two manufacturers, and they put a heat shrink on them, and then they're charging you a little more for them, and they're selling them. That's how that works. So, uh, 14.8 is high enough charging for that CMAX. I think they top out at 14.6 or something. Let me go back and look. It gives a recommendation on it. I believe it was. Okay, no, they said they can be charged safely between 12 and 16 volts, which that in itself kind of bugs me because that's a large range for cells. And cells don't like to rest below their optimal voltage. These are not capacitors. These are cells. They have a specific small range that they can function in. And I'm trying to figure out how they're saying it's okay to charge them between 12 and 16 volts. Having said that, that's what they claim. I could be just a moron. It's very, very likely. Um, Also, their configuration is a 4S 5P. Now, pay attention to this, okay? Pay attention to this. 4S 5P. 4 in series, 5 in parallel. So you put 4 of them in series, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 series together. That's 20 batteries, 20 cells. 4 times 5. But then in the description, they tell you that there's 21 cells. See what I mean? That's the kind of shit that worries me. There can't be 21 cells if they're 4S5P. And then it says 14.8 volts here, 12 to 16 volts here. So it's like, when I see something like that, I'm like, well, what else is bad in this information? What other kind of typos are there? You know? So, yeah. I don't quite get it, man. I don't quite get it. Uh, but provided that whichever is going on here, provided that all that works out, is it a good battery? And good is a relative term. I think I've got 120 amp hours, according to this, of capacity. So if it's got like 6C or 7C, that's, 800, 900 amps input, which is stout. I just don't know if I trust the numbers, and I don't know about how well they handle thermal issues like being extremely cold. I don't know if the person manufacturing these compression racks is actually doing them correctly, if it's going to hold up, or if they're going to decompress in some sort of way and smoke out, gas out. I don't know. Um, I don't know what kind of warranty or nothing comes with them. So there's a whole lot of unknowns. Having said that, it's $300 for 120 amp hours with a balancer. And it's a crappy balancer. The basic one this is the Health Tech. You have to pay a little more for the Health Tech balancer, but they come with this thing right here. Very basic balancer. But it is a balancer, and the Health Tech balancer is like an extra 40 or $60 or whatever. Like like you got this thing right here, right? So if you go with the Health Tech, you just click that, and then you're paying $349. So it's an extra $50 for the Health Tech balancer. If you're going to buy this damn thing, select this option. Get the Health Tech balancer. Don't even think about not buying the Health Tech, unless you don't like your house. Anyway, I don't know. Just saying. I'm anal about certain things, and that would be one of them. Is AGM better? 14.8. The difference between Sundown M series and X series. I don't know. You have to look into them, each individual, and consider what you're doing and how you're doing it. And one of those subs may be better. Hopefully, come with the subs. Probably losing my mind. If I sound like an idiot, it's because I am an idiot. But consider what you're doing with the equipment and what it's best at. And that's going to be kind of your deciding factor. You might find that one subwoofer has a lower volume requirement, a lower box volume requirement. You may have a limited box volume, or one sub has a lower FS, can tend to play lows a little better. You may like lows. All these things are important. It's not so much which is the best, because the best is, what you think of as the best. It may not be what I think of as the best. I want to float hair, right? So I'm going for the most cone movement and the largest cone, and the most motor force and low frequencies and stuff like that. But whatever you're doing may require different things. So pay attention to the details and the specs of what these drivers do. If you don't understand how to interpret that information, then you need to continue to absorb and learn. Build a framework in your mind for how to put things and where to file certain information and how that makes up a thing. Um, that's just the truth. W said, I'm going AGM. Uh, Fast Chicken, what's up? Fast Chicken, the fastest chicken in the South. Got me going around cutting ribbons. I have a 320 Auto Tech. I'm just 320 Auto Tech. I'm just nervous about of the inexpensive lithium, and LTO is about a gram plus. I haven't put the alt in yet. Put the damn alt in, man. I mean, you ain't gonna hurt nothing. You're not gonna help nothing. That's the downside. So if you've got a water hose, right, and that water hose can only flow, 10 gallons a second, it just no more water can go through there and make it out the other end. It don't matter how big of a pump you put on the end of it, the water hose is only going to flow 10 gallons a second. And if the alternator puts out 400 amps, but your battery can only take in, 20 or 30 amps at a time, it's only going to take in 20 or 30 amps at a time. You've got to have a battery that can take in that amperage, or the alternator is just going to be going and not actually accomplishing anything, unfortunately. That said, most of the time the alternator that comes from the factory is going to have a fairly limited amount of output, and putting a bigger one in will probably help a little bit. Um, but also putting a better battery in that can take in power will free up that other alternator and allow it to be able to give you all of its current. So either one of those two things is going to be an upgrade. If I'm upgrading one, though, I would typically recommend upgrading the battery first, because you're going to get more benefit from that than you will upgrading the alternator with a standard issue AGM battery. But it requires lithium. Welcome to base. This is just how this works, man. We lithium the shit and we roll. You know. Joe Daddy said, "What's your?" I do not know. My opinion of. I'm not even sure what amp that is. I'm sorry, but I don't have it in my head. Oh, wait a minute. I think I do. The AK-45. Yes, it's a complete piece of shit. That's what it is. Don't buy it. It's a piece of junk. I've got one in there on the shelf. I just reviewed it a while back. You had to think about it. I knew it sounded familiar. Yeah, it's a total piece of garbage, man. You're better off just to pee on something and call it an amplifier. Uh, real, real, real Cisco. Yeah, real Cisco Montano. Yeah, that's it. I feel like AGM is better for systems that are 3,000 watts or less. No, it's not. Good. I mean, it's like, okay. It's like you buy a go kart, it's got a 3 horsepower motor on it. Will a 5 horsepower motor make it go faster? Yes. That's going to be faster. That's going to improve that go kart. But you already had a 3 horsepower go kart that would run most that same performance. But that doesn't mean that, putting a motorcycle engine on it wouldn't turn it into an entirely different machine. So, yeah, putting an extra battery on your stuff is going to give you a little bit more C rating, a little bit more throughput, and a little bit more capacity. But you're spending $300 on a tiny improvement where you could spend that same $300 on the right battery and get all the improvement plus improvement for the future. It's like, it's just, yeah, that's the thing. It's just such a horribly bad purchase. That's what I'm getting at. You know, you're going to get a half a C, which means maybe 30 to 50 amps extra output and that input. That's 300 to 500 watts of power. That's what you're gaining by adding another battery. So you got, you got your 3K amp in there, and you got your stock battery and your stock alternator. You're putting about, maybe 100 amps into that 3K. So you're getting 1,000 watts out of it, right? That's it, because you're only putting in that much. You can't magically make more. So your 3,000 watt amp is making 1,000 watts. And then you add another battery. So now you're adding another, at most, 50 amps. So now you move from 1,000 watts to 1,500 watts at the cost of what it would have took to get you the full 3,000 watts with reserve. That's what I'm saying. It's just a very financially broken thing to do. Kenter. Yes, Kenter amp. Now you're on the right path. I've had 4 different Kenters and they were all really good. Really good amps. They tend to work really well. The main thing you got to make sure you do when you're buying those amps is to make sure you've got enough amperage going into that little amplifier. If you've got like a 2 amp output power brick, you're not going to get much power out. But you can always change out the power brick. Try to get something that makes like 18 volts and kicks out like 5 or 10 amps, and you're going to get a lot of power out of that amplifier. So same thing as in car audio, it's just a smaller scale. Lithiums drop to about 3 volts per cell under load and stay there. Yeah, their plateau was like, bloop. Whereas AGM or lead acid just goes the whole time. The voltage falls really fast. Yeah, lithium is way better for car audio. Way better. Unban me? Unban my 360. Oh, yeah, I remember you. He's the Xbox guy. The guy that was doing sneaky headshots and running aimbots. It got banned. Yeah, I know. I remember. I'm just messing with you, man. Don't get mad. Chief 100 amp hour LiPo is only about $50 more than AGM. Yes, that's exactly what I've been saying. And it's a completely different device. Have you ever seen a 600 ounce ferrite motor? Let's see here. Have you ever seen a 600 ounce ferrite motor? Yes, I've handled one, and it was as big as the floorboard of a Ford Ranger pickup. It's like, yeah, it was huge. How do I feel aside like the Destroyer GP? Destroyer? Anyway, how do you feel aside from SPL and sound? Well, here's the kicker, okay? And this is a caveated statement. Any subwoofer that is designed specifically to make as much sound pressure as possible is sacrificing elements that make it sound good to get there. So as you push a sub as far as possible into that maximum bass, you're having to shave off little things that help it sound better, but also restrict the bass. On the other hand, if you push a subwoofer all the way towards SQ, you're making all kinds of compromises to get the best possible sound out of it with it, and so you're always going to have to compromise. Having said that, if you take the SPL sub, the most SPL sub you can find, put it in the right enclosure and EQ it properly, and you take no, that won't work. But anyway, take that big monster SPL sub and EQ it properly in the right enclosure in the right environment. You can still make it sound pretty damn good. So yeah, it's just a toss up. I've seen. We had that. What was it? He was running a free air. I think he had that 600 ounce magnet on a free air, like an 18 or something. Um, it was a Frankenwoofer, but he was running it infinite baffle. It sounded good. So yeah, it's so hard to do that because there's so many other variables involved. The right enclosure, the right port, the right tuning, the right vehicle with right power, all those things can change completely how a subwoofer behaves. So yeah, just got a voltmeter. Does that need to be fused? If not, it can cause a. Anytime you have a positive and a negative wire that have come in contact with each other and they are connected and a dead short, which is what you're worrying about, if there's no fuse, the wire is the fuse. So is the wire going to burn in two before it burns down your vehicle? That's the question you're asking yourself. Would it be appropriate to put a fuse in there because that can prevent the thing from burning down your vehicle? Yes. A whole lot of us don't, but it would be the appropriate thing to do. You have to protect that hot wire so if it ever comes into contact with ground at any point, it will blow the fuse instead of turning into a electric heater and catching fire to something. So yeah, the thing about small wires though and small stuff like that is they typically burn the wire into just as fast as they'll burn a fuse into. Then you got to chase down where the wire burns. So having a fuse is not a bad thing. Never. It's always good, even for small stuff like that. The fuse will, however, probably affect your voltage reading, but it probably won't be enough to where you'll actually notice it. You like it'll be less than a tenth of a volt, so you won't ever see that change. Um, what's up, Brain Dead? How big of fire? All the fire. 5S. Yeah, it said they must be using 5S. It says 4S, 5P. And even if they were using 5S, there's no way to get 21. The only way to get 21 is to have seven, three banks of seven, or seven banks of three. But that's not what they have, obviously, in the image, and it's also not what they say they have. So you have to multiply it by seven to get 21. Four times five is 20, no matter how many times you multiply it. It's always 20, and they literally say in the same 21. I don't know why they would say that. Maybe their web designer just has no clue what the hell they're doing. I don't know. Uh, Brenda, I saw an ad for those batteries. I'm not sure which ones you're talking about, but yes, they have to mean 20 cells, and that's a typo. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's a pretty substantial typo, man. It's pretty substantial, and it's kind of important information. You know, it's like not just like misspelling the word China or something. It's literally the information that's really important, and it's not done as a text file. It's done as an image. So they created an image file with a misspelling of a very important word that they're trying to make sure you can see. That kind of just bothers me. Might be for the whole Ford C-Max battery pack. Again, it would not be an odd number unless it's a multiple of seven. It's not. And if you count the cells, there are 20 cells in the bank, not 21. Uh, mud to gold. That sounds fun. Let's do it. Can the B2 audio DSP be used as that LOC? Uh, my truck has factory bows, and the RCAs are just tapped into the speaker wires. Can I run RCAs to the DSP, then to the amp to make sure you're getting a clean signal? I don't remember off the top of my head if it has high level input. Um, output. Uh, I don't know off the top of my head. Let me go look and see. Hang on a minute. We shall investigate. We shall be free. Have a little faith. Walk now. Shall be free. Mm. Oh, my buddy rolled up playing that ding a ding dong song. What was that? Ding dong ding ding ding. How's it go? I can't think of it. It's I don't know. Anyway, hang on a minute. Ding a ding 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 dong. Oh. I know I'm losing it. Ding dong, ding a ding 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 dong, or something like that. Okay. Let's have a study. We'll go over to B2 and oh, that's a new one. What is that? What's going on there? 4 volts, 12 channels. Oh, that's a new one, guys. Look at that. That's got more channels. But we're talking about this one. The only difference between this one and this one is the color. So we'll just pick one here. We'll pick the first one. We'll have a look see because I can't remember for sure. So it's got the V2, the Bluetooth, maximum compact and durable, professional grade, 6 input, 10 output. Okay, yeah, we know all that. 32-bit resolution, yeah. Output channels provides a strong 4 volt. Each channel gives you 4 volts of output. Okay. Connectors. Okay, here we go. Wait a minute. Input level. That is 4. I think that's 4 volt on RMS. I could be wrong about that. I know it's a tough son of a bitch. My buddy's alternator thing got messed up the other day, and he was charging at 17 volts, and everything survived. The Slaps amps survived, and the B2 DSP survived. They did shut off. The amps did. The DSP did not, though. It stayed on, so it was significantly higher than this 15 volt DC that it actually says it can handle. So it's a solid piece of kit. Um, I think that's what this is, but I'm not 100% sure. It seems pretty accurate at 4 volts, so that may be a limit. Don't think it can do that trick. It's a cut. There's the dimensions. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about it, so I'm thinking probably not. That's what I'm thinking. Probably not a good idea. Okay, let's go on down here. This is a Jag. Oh, okay, let's see what he says here. That's a factory case on a Jag 35. He has a video where it takes it apart to flip a few cells around. Oh, okay. So he has to reconfigure it to from like 24 volts or whatever, 48 volts to 12 volts. That makes sense. So that's like the compression rack that comes with the car, you're saying. Okay. The lead acid I found in the river does just fine, thank you. Oh yeah, Dubby, get her done. If you look close at the picture, you'll see one cell at the very end that is not being used except as a spacer. Wow, that's weird. So okay, um, that's hurting my brain, dude. Uh, Interesting. I'll have to dig into that. I'm kind of getting, I'm kind of getting a vibe here that makes some sense in my head, but it's all messy and I'm going to have to look into it. But thank you for that. Uh, and he said, good catch. Interesting. Jay Shipes. Yep. Beers, man. Uh, that's a good point. Yeah. Nose batteries, he says. All right. So, John Smith Audio. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. When running, okay, let's start over. If your alternator has a regulator when running a second battery to the run, you should run a battery to battery. If no regulator, then runs from the alternator to back battery or do. Um, it doesn't matter. And electrically, it doesn't really matter. You can run from the alternator to the battery, or the alternator to another battery, and then to that battery. What changes is the current is always going to flow the path of least resistance. So if you've got two batteries hooked up to the same alternator, the alternator is feeding got power wires run from the alternator to each battery. And if the batteries are the same and the wires length is the same and the conductive path is the same, they will share the same amount of power. If one, however, has 15-foot run and the other has a 2-foot run, the alternator is going to put power into that first battery until it's completely full. And then both of those are going to be trying to fill up the battery at the longer run. Just the way electricity works. Now, if you run power from the alternator to that one battery and then run from that battery back to the other one, you're going to have a similar problem. You're going to fill up the first battery first before it fills up the second one. It's like pouring water into a glass and having that glass run over into the next glass. That's just going to work. For But both are going to get the job done. And the battery at the back is going to be the monster, right? The big one. So it's going, whatever you've got your amplifier hooked to, it needs to be as close to that battery as possible, wire length wise, so that that amplifier is pulling power from that battery and keeping itself amplifying. Um, yeah. And the whole front, coming back on those power wires, and the grounds, of course, going through the body and whatever else you're using, that's going to be continually charging that big battery. It's going to be handling the work, and then the other guys are going to be steadily shoving coal into that fire, keeping that thing topped off between beats and between songs. Um, as far as the regulator goes, it doesn't have anything to do with it. The alternator regulator has to do with how much power, how much voltage the alternator is actually charging at. If you change the regulator, you can increase the voltage or decrease the voltage, which increases and decreases efficiency of the equipment, but it doesn't dictate where power goes and to what battery. Um, it's very complicated. And I don't entirely understand the question. You may be meaning something else that I'm not picking up on, but I did my best to give you the information around the question anyway, even if it wasn't a direct answer. Stu, what's up, my friend? Finally made it. Hell yeah. We're glad you did, Stu. Hope you had a good Christmas, man. The only thing lithium is bad at is you can't charge them below freezing. It electroplates the current collectors. They're frozen. Most packs protect for this. The ones that protect for this or have a BMS in them, and we don't typically run BMSs on car audio lithium because the BMS usually limits the outgoing power to 80 to 120 amps, and we don't like that. So that's why there's problems. That's why you have to be very specific about the cells that you're using and the temperatures you're using those cells in. So you're 100% correct, but not all lithium is limited to above freezing charging. Some cells can be charged much, much lower. If you guys can get a hold of the Trunk Thunder lithium batteries when they are in stock, or buy one and wait, they're rated at 32 degrees below zero with a diminished power output, but they are safe to function at those temperatures. They are capable of running really cold. Um, they're actually designed for the Chinese military, Siberian winters, and they're designed to be used in that environment on a constant basis, safely, with bullets and things. You know, I'd say they're pretty damn good sales. Uh, the Kenter and Fozzy, man. Those are the two name brands to look for. Yeah, W even agrees with me. Let's see here. Most Amazon. Random thought. How is the lifespan? About 100 to 1,000 times better than AGM. Yeah, AGM batteries typically have like a 500, 300 to 500 cycle lifespan. Most lithium is way up in the thousands, so it's tremendously different. Um, yep, all that stuff. Yep, trying to maintain battery daily. No thanks. Uh, Good, yes, sir. I bet the solid state lithium batteries will have a higher operating temperature range. It's a good question. Um, I'm what I'm looking for. Honestly, guys, what I'm looking for in the future is good sodium batteries, and I'm thinking that a sodium capacitor combo hybrid is going to be a really good setup. But they're also going to be kind of heavy and kind of bulky. But I think that in the future, next year or two maybe, sodium is going to be really, really big in car audio. That's my prediction. But I also think they're going to require caps to do a really good job because their current output is a little weird. And it's just a whole lot of stuff going on with sodium. But sodium is the thing we're going to be looking at. Sodium and also solid state batteries, which are going to be really, really, really expensive, but essentially really, really good as well. Hopefully, the price will come down on them when they get them tied down because they're going to be the shit. Solid state battery is essentially capacitor territory, but with actual storage. Freaking insane. Um, I hear sometimes with such a large motor, I can get away with less airspace. Yeah, extreme compared to something like one sub needing force five. Motor force can absolutely overtake airspace problems, but it isn't just the motor; it's motor force and power. The more power you put on a sub, the more effective it is at moving and squishing the air. So if you have a small enclosure and you put much more power on the sub, you can make that sub behave like it's in a larger enclosure by sheer force. You can force it to behave. There's also the chance that you're going to destroy the cone or rip the spider apart or projectile shoot a freaking dust cap across the room. These things happen. But yes, you can do that. You're on the right trail with that. It also requires power, not just a motor. And the motor has to be strong, not just big. And everything else has to work to get the motor force up. And PA gets below freezing, lithium for a winter. The Glow Series 2 says it's good in freezing. If you trust them, go for it. Honestly, I can't bitch because right now, like I said, Trunk Thunder Lithium, Brandon cannot keep up with the orders. He's literally inundated. So yes, I've seen a lithium, but I've seen capacitors completely make tools disappear. Like pow, and there's nothing left. There's just molten slag stuck to the walls. Any large amount of power, even AGMs and lead acid, if you get enough of them together, will vaporize chunks of metal, completely make it go away instantly. So yeah, I have. I've seen a couple of sockets get vaporized, unfortunately. So yes. As far as that wrench thing goes, no, it's just a shit ton of power getting blasted into something in so fast that it literally instantly turns it into molten metal. But yeah, yeah, we picked up on it. I think just left in there so that the pack works. So in other words, he broke down the pack and whenever he switched up how it was configured, he ended up with an extra cell. And he had to have the extra cell in there to keep the whole rack working properly. That's what I'm getting from this. I will research it and find it out, though. Thank you for pointing it out. You guys are awesome. Oh, the BMS prevents charging current from flowing until they warmed up. Yeah, but it also restricts overall current output too. That's the problem with the BMS. I would love the fact that it prevents it from flowing until it's warm. That's great, and also maybe restricts it, until it's warm. That's great also. But the problem with the BMS is it also restricts the current. Period. Whenever they're at normal operating temperature by a huge amount. It works great if you're running it as an RV battery or a car battery or something where you're just powering a thing that doesn't need giant gobs of power, um, and it just needs 100 amps or whatever. The BMS can do that, and it can make that safe, make that battery that normally wouldn't be able to operate in crazy temperatures work fine, as long as it's not in car audio. That's where the problem comes in. Uh, hmm. W said, "Was that styro pyro that melted the wrench?" Yeah. Specifications are subject to change. Yeah, there you go. Uh, Springfield, Missouri, man. Uh, Whenever you show up in Springfield and during some kind of normal hours, and I'll absolutely meet up with you somewhere. You can hear it. Uh, let's see here. AGM Denali. Oh, wait, we're talking about a different thing. I could smoke a cig too. No, you don't. You don't need to do that. If I could quit, I'd have quit a long time ago. I'm too much of a freaking wimp to quit. Um, let's see here. I have, yeah, I have too. Like I said, I've had multiple chunks of metal go away. Let's see, Dr. Dre. Yeah. Troy, thanks, man. Ding dong, ding 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 dong. I gotta look that up again. I gotta hear that shit again. I love that. I love that melody for that. Troy's in the house. Yeah, he had it going, man. And that song's been in my head. Bing dong, ding ding, all damn day ever since that. Uh, Dre has an incredible knack for creating a melodic hook in a song. Just a little melody. He's got that shit. He is the best at that. Uh, do I build boxes for vast or do I build larger? I usually build smaller than recommended size, just a little bit because it gives more control, and we're usually putting more power on them than they're rated for. So dropping that air volume a little bit will help to compensate for that and give you better cone control, especially when you start stretching down into that low part of the port tuning and playing lower than the port. Having a little bit less airspace can tend to make things tighten up and keep you from over excurting the sub. It's like whenever you increase the power significantly over what it's rated for, you also have to decrease the airspace to an extent because if not, you're going to overthrow the sub. You're going to slam the coil into stuff. That's a big problem. There's always compromises, man. Yeah. Thank you, Dubby. Dubby pointed it out. He's 13. He was 14 the first time, and then he was 13 the next time. Not really sure how old he is. Ah, okay. Yeah. Well, I thought y'all was gonna let it slide. Oh hell no. Hell no. I don't let shit slide. 100 amp hour cells, probably 80 volts to 160 volt where it happened. Ooh, that's a lot of power. How do you feel about the new Dupont head units? I haven't heard one. I need to get one of those in and test it. That's my thing. I do need to find out. I need to get one in and test it. That's one of the things I'm building this stuff for. Um, and I'm just in the process. I'd say I'm roughly maybe halfway through building this new thing for the head units testing. It's got a lot of work to do yet on it, but we got the design down and we got the bones put together. I've just got to do a bunch of reinforcements because it's going to have to take the stuff that the Tahoe does to everything, which is basically, you know, shake the hell out of it. So it's got to take all that and be reliable. And so it's going to take a lot of reinforcements to make sure it doesn't fall apart. Brain dead, 6450. Buy the batteries, test it out for us. The thing about me buying batteries to test them out is I have to put them in my Tahoe. And that means I have to reconfigure a whole bunch of crap. It's a huge pain in the ass. I don't have like a setup, like a table setup, a lab or something. And maybe when we finally do get our house and I get my shop, I'll set something up to run like a bunch of heaters, or something like that. And test batteries and amplifiers, big amplifiers, maybe. I don't know. It's a lot of equipment to do that. I could test batteries though. That's a little bit easier to round up. Shadow says, you said you would try looking at the best affordable way to listen to a system without having to have a motor running. Ever get a chance to look into that? Not a big system like you guys. Lots of batteries. Um, if I was going to build a camping vehicle, which would kind of be what you're talking about, something like that, where you can literally run the system for hours and hours and hours and hours, but not crazy loud. I would probably look into solar lithium because they do have charge controllers in them, and you're not trying to pull 900 amps out of a battery. You're wanting to pull 50 amps out of a battery for you know 30 or 40 hours or whatever. And solar lithium batteries would work pretty good for that. Also, uh, the batteries that you buy for the mobility scooters that are lithium. If you can find, because that's going to be a pretty good price point. If you can find uh, a good spot to get a bunch of those really cheap, that would be a great source of a lot of power. Well, a long term power, not you know a lot of power at one time, but a lot of distance, not a lot of speed, if you will. And you can usually find those relatively inexpensively because of just how many people want them. The prices are pretty competitive on them. So look into that. That would be a good choice, a good spot to check. Uh, yeah. See, we got other people chiming in. So um, the heat is not a real issue with the lithium. It is, but it's not a big one. Uh, you'll be okay with that. I don't think you'll have any problems with 140 degrees. No, I know you won't have any problems with 140 degrees. You got to get up into that, 200-degree range before you start getting sketch. Uh, they're pretty tough in hot temperatures. Um, should listen for 2 to 3 hours sometimes. I got a problem. Oh, yeah. Okay. Not max volume. I'm tuned at 30 volume on the head unit usually. If I for chilling, enjoying music. Yeah. Yeah. Just anything with a lot of amp hours is going to be your choice. Amp hours are the key when it comes to long distance battery, is getting more amp hours. Not necessarily high C rating, just more amp hours. And AGM can do fine in that regard, but it's kind of what it's built for, is low amount of power for a long damn time. But as far as really pushing the limit to that, lithium is better in a lot of ways because the voltage doesn't drop as the battery depletes. It drops at the very end. And it has a lot more potential energy storage, so it's going to be better. But you can just get one with a good BMS, maybe a couple of them or some small ones, and string them together. You can get what you're looking for. Uh, say a 100 amp hour battery can supply 100 amps for 1 hour. Yeah. Um, that's it. And if it's rated at 1C, it could take in 100 amps or put out 100 amps at one time. So that goes with any battery. Yep. But it's really not an accurate, uh, not really an accurate way to measure. It does represent what the battery is capable of, but it's not realistic. Um, but it's that's how you measure it. That's what that measurement means. Uh, Shadow. Yeah, the trick, like I said, is getting lithium is going to give you 12 volts for 100 amp hours. So when it comes to AGMs, sure, they'll give you the amps, but they're also going to be dropping voltage a lot. By the time you get part of the way through that 100 amp hours, you're going to be down to like 9 volts. So that's why AGMs suck. Or any lead acid chemistry sucks. So the lithiums are going to hold in that 13 volt range till they're nearly dead, which is what you want when you're driving car audio. What I would think of is I'd run a pretty good sized lithium battery and then put an isolator on it, um, so that when you turn your key off, right, and you're just chilling, and you can run that battery past your key, so it keeps powering. But when you turn the key off, it hits that isolator and disconnects your starting battery from the system. That way, you're draining the crap out of that lithium. But even if you drained it all the way dead, your car would still start back up. And I think you'd have no problem doing that. But of course, the BMS might actually do that too. When the voltage drops to a certain point, that wouldn't help the starter battery though. Yeah, I don't know. For amps or from battery, uh, I'm brainstorming right now. I'm not giving you advice. I'm kind of brainstorming with you. Uh, AGM LS are still most popular currently. Yeah. Quantum Escape is selling solid state batteries. Yeah, that's the problem. Is they're really expensive. But I'm looking for that to change. Because technology, as more and more people start to use it, more companies start to make it, they push the price down. I think that uh, I think that solid state is going to run second string, and sodium is going to be the primary, and lithium is going to fall by the wayside. I think lithium is going to become so incredibly cheap that it's going to still sell quite a bit, but it's going to be so cheap because people are going to be trying to sell it and no one's going to be buying it. And they're going to keep dropping the prices. And lithium it'll be short lived. It's not going to stick around for a tremendous long time because it's such a pain in the ass to get out of the ground. And we're dealing with other countries and stuff, having to worry about, all these chains to pull things in, and anyone can stop the flow and then it goes away. I think the larger batteries are going to switch to sodium eventually. Lithium will be around running smart devices, small things, because it's really energy dense and it's lightweight and it's small, so it's good for phones and shit. But I think the bigger batteries are going to be mostly sodium, and then solid state is going to be there doing eventually going to replace the lithium. Whenever it gets popular enough, it's going to actually push the lithium out completely, and it'll die off because of the rare metals and all that crap. Sodium batteries are infinitely more green for the world, and that's what's going to push them into the lead. That's just my guesses. She's just on the amp battery. We're working on figuring out. Okay, trying to figure out his power draw. I got you. I mean, when I need like a DC isolator, wires for and lithium battery or more than that. Uh, I'm not sure. Who's hitting the emojis with Joe Daddy? Here you go, man. Joe Daddy. The isolator keeps the vehicle battery from going dead. That's the idea. Uh, so basically, whenever you turn the switch off, you'll disconnect the rest of your system from that battery. So that battery can be drained and drained and drained without pulling on your starting battery. You can take it down to as far as you want to go. Just watch the voltage and make sure it doesn't get, as soon as that voltage starts to really hammer, you about killed the battery. But if you got the right setup, a few hours at moderate volume is not hard to accomplish with a good amount of amp hours. I mean, I'll give you an example. It's kind of an extreme example, but it's the examples I have. They're all extreme. DJ Ruscall's demoing had 2,000 amp hours of CMAX. And he demoed for like 3 or 4 hours off of just his battery bank. And he's loud as shit. So amp hours are a big deal. Of course, it took him hours to charge it back up with the alternators, with his 2 alternators running. But amp hours are everything. So the more amp hours you have, the longer you can pull power from something. Did they ever get BMSs from overheating as much? No, they're always going to be a restriction, man. They're going to get hot. They could build a BMS for car audio and it would be fine, but nobody's wanting to do that. That development is huge, a huge money expense, and most car audio guys just want all the power. We don't want anything holding it back because we need more than what it's got, more than what it can give. So we just keep sucking it out of there until it explodes. That's kind of how we do things. And the whole world of lithium and batteries and stuff are built specifically for other shit besides car audio. We just use them for that. So nobody's really building stuff for car audio. You say, well, excess power and all this stuff. Sure, they're making battery banks, but the cells they're putting in them were not designed for car audio. They were designed to do something else. Car audio simply is not big enough of a industry in that regard to fuel development specifically for car audio. All the stuff that we're using, those cells were intended for a different purpose, something that has a lot more return on investment than, the tiny percentage of the population who are into putting lots of subwoofers in their car. We make up a tiny fraction of the population. The population that uses electric cars is significantly larger. So that's where the funding comes from, the development comes from. Power banks on houses, solar systems, electric cars, those stupid little pin batteries. I don't even know how many times I've seen huge battery banks made of those tiny little, like AAA looking cells. Nobody's building shit specifically for car audio because it's just not a big enough industry. And that's always going to be the problem. Wait, 4 more years to come visit. Got to get that driver's license first. But don't worry, Stu. He'll be 16 tomorrow, man. He'll be good. Poor Joe Daddy. Oh man, ring ding dong, ring a ding 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 dong. Yeah, that's it. Now it's in your head, right? Everybody's got that shit in their head now. Ding dong, ding ding. Yeah. Keep the head ringing. It's in everybody's head, man. 4 years is too long. Corn nut. Oh no, corn nut.
Hey, guess what? Taco loves tacos, yeah, that's his scene. Crunching all day like a taco machine. Hard shell, soft shell, spicy, supreme. Always eating tacos, favorite cuisine. Taco, 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 taco. Crunchy, crunchy. With taco machine.
What's up, man? Money mouth face. Oh yeah, dude. What's up, Corn Nut? Thanks for the taco, brother. Oh man, 4 years. See, Joe Daddy said, send in more money. More money. Hell yeah, baby. Uh, 4 years ain't that long when you're our age. No shit, dude. It's about 3 months. Our best local shop. Closing at the end of the year. Benchmark Audio. It's an auto sound owner's retiring. Oh, that sucks, bro. Unless you happen to be a competitor, then it's like, oh, well, we finally get a break. This guy's retiring. Now we can actually get customers. Yeah. I'm still 4'3". Now, man, you're a midget. Little midget. Joe Daddy. Joe Daddy is a midget. uh, about 1 to 3 hours, he said, not hours and hours. For building a camper system, I'd be looking at the most efficient speakers I could find and optimize speaker placement. Fair. I agree with that. Add up the fuses on your amp. So he's trying to figure out what your amp load is so he can kind of give you an idea of what kind of battery you need to go for 3 hours. What's up, man? Appreciate that. Holy bejesus. He got, oh, damn.
Hey, guess what? Taco loves tacos, yeah, that's his scene. Crunching all day like a taco machine. Hard shell, soft shell, spicy, supreme. Always eating tacos, favorite cuisine. Taco, 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 taco. Crunchy, crunchy. With Taco Machine.
Welcome to the
Holy
demo.
shit, guys.
Please enjoy your stay.
That's
if you want a really
insane.
good video, lean over there and put your head right in that window right beside you. Let's do it, baby.
Throw it in park as I open the door. Baby, you wait in the truck. Old photographs scattered.
You get the
on
werewolf,
ground.
man.
Take a breath and my mind gets stuck. I can hear the screams, I can hear it all. Is it all just in my head? This whiskey bottle is keeping me sane, but I'm stuck in the past that night in the rain. Flashing in the headlights, eyes like a forest fire, running out through the woods. Screaming through the treetops, crashing through the mountains. This guy is up to no good. My blood ran cold as my lights caught a flash of something out across the plains. I stood there staring at a blood-soaked human covered with fur in the rain. The night the werewolf came. The night he went insane. Bloodshed in the rain on the night the werewolf came. The night he went insane. Bloodshed in the rain on the night the werewolf came. The crowd gathered round.
Holy shit, dude. Merry Christmas to you too, man. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Wow. I don't get a whole lot of ducks, man. Tacos, ducks. And I appreciate it when I do. Thank you. Wow. Let's see. The 8,000 watt, that 8,000 watts ad for an under 500, 8,000 watt ad for under 500. I'm ordering that very soon. Sweet. Stu said if solid state can get into the auto manufacturer, I'll get that market. Sure, where it's affordable. Yeah, no kidding. Solid state is going to be, like I said, I think eventually solid state is going to take over the small devices, and sodium is going to take over big stuff eventually. Right now, lithium is still really solid, and everybody's working around all the issues with lithium, but it is a limited resource, and there's a whole lot of bad shit going on around getting that lithium to work with. So we're going to slide away from it as soon as something else becomes viable. That's what I'm thinking. Cobalt's expensive too. Yeah. Yeah, no shit. 3310s, the 32 series, the 3310s, the 3320s. Those batteries were like, well, they were running off, I believe they were running off a nickel metal hydride battery specifically, but those phones were absolutely insanely tough. I had this one. So I sold cell phones for a time for a company called B Wireless. It was basically an AT&T. We sold AT&T stuff. And I had this one 3320, I think it was. It was either 3310 or 3320. I can't remember. That I had at the store that I used. I switched my SIM card into this phone. And I had thrown it across the parking lot like hundreds of times. So one of my favorite ways to sell this phone was I'd be outside. I'd go outside the store out in the parking lot, and I would call the phone, have the customer call the phone, and I'd throw it across the parking lot, bouncing as the phone was ringing. And it got all the way to the other end of the parking lot and hit the curb and went in the grass, and you could still hear that son of a bitch ringing way the hell across the parking lot. And then we'd all walk over there to pick it up. It was still ringing, and it was scratched all to hell, but every part of that phone worked every time. It took hundreds of trips across the parking lot. And it would ring. And the cool thing was it was durable as hell, and that ringer was so loud that you could hear it completely on the other end of the parking lot in the grass, clear as day. And I sold so many of those phones. So many of those phones. They were absolutely tough. Lithium batteries stay pretty balanced. The LiPo batteries don't explode from what I've seen. LiPo is solid. Unless it's headway. You don't want to mess with that. Headway is junk. Corn nuts, taco, baby. Go taco, go, Stu said. Hell yeah. LiPo don't like the cold. Yeah. And that was an awesome taco. I have 315s hooked up to my TV that rocked. I just run 112. But you guys wouldn't believe how loud this thing is in here. You would not believe it. The Sennheisers, hell yeah. Got them busy, he said. I could definitely put those headphones busy. You know that. There's 10 15s. Oh, those aren't even the subs. Lithium's the most abundant metal in the universe. Yeah. Well, it's how it's gotten, man. It's not the most abundant. I can't imagine that. But it's it's how it's achieved, how they're getting it, and where it comes from is kind of the problems. But is it hype? Maybe. I'll buy that. I'll buy it possibly. Sure. I'd have to dig deeper into it to determine whether I really felt it was the case, but I'll buy that it is possibly hype. Because the world loves to do that, It's always about money. LiPo batteries are basically plastic, aluminum, copper fertilizer. Copper fertilizer and alcohol. And some carbon. Hell yeah. Well, you definitely have the right name to qualify to explain that. So I will take that as the gospel. Guys, I am not going to hang out tonight for 5.5 hours. In fact, I'm about to go get something to eat. So I have had a lot of fun with y'all. Y'all have been really good. And we'll be back on the air Sunday at 7 p.m.-ish. So if you have any more questions or you want to talk about anything else, Sunday is going to be the next time. I'm really tired tonight, and I wasn't planning on jumping in here. But I was like, you know what? I gotta, my people are going to be there, so I'm going to be there. Iron phosphate, he says. Silver value. Yeah. Anytime you want to know why anything happens, it's all about the money. But for tonight, guys, let's get the duck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping. Gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Fires are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming. Gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice cords are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.